a Canadian brig called, I should have looked up how to say this. It's DEI. Is that?
DEI?
De Gratia. That sounds right.
De Gratia, yeah.
De Gratia was 400 miles east of Azores, which is an archipelago composed of 9 volcanic islands in the Micronesian region of North Atlantic Ocean. I had to look up. I didn't know where.
Micronesia.
Oh,
so it's like Pacific Island area.
It's a Pacific Island area.
All I can think of is that stupid movie Zoolander, and they're trying to kill isn't it the Prime Minister of Micronesia?
Oh yeah, I totally forgot that. Yeah. So the Canadian ship was 400 miles east of Azores, something like that. It's an A, ends with an S. We get it. Azeroth. So they're 400 miles east of that, and they spot this ship that appears to be adrift in a distance. And they watched this ship for about 2 hours, and they were hailing it, whatever they do to hail ships, and there was no return back. So captain of the ship was named Morehouse, and he was like, this ship seems like there's no one aboard. They're like looking through their little spy glasses and binocular things. It doesn't appear to be anyone aboard. They can't see anyone at the wheel. So they're like, something's not right. And he doesn't know what ship it is at this time, but he sends a small party of his guys. So they have a small ship. He also had like 8 people in the boat with him. Send half the guys to check the ship out. So they went into the little lifeboat, and they went over the little dinghy and went over, I like to say that, went over to the Celeste. The ship itself was partially under sail, and which means like their sails were half up.
Yeah.
And the ship's wheel was spinning, and there was no one aboard. The only lifeboat was missing. One of the ship's pumps was dismantled, like as if someone took it apart. Maybe there was something wrong with it. Of the 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol on board, only 9 were damaged. So there were 9 that had some problems when we were seeping. But the rest of them were contained in the cargo. They found a 6-month supply of food and water that was not touched. The whole ship itself was not damaged. There was nothing wrong with it, other than there was 3.5 feet of water in the hull, which wasn't enough for a ship that size to sink. It wasn't really anything. 3.5 feet was nothing. And it wouldn't impede their sailing or their trip or anything like that. Searching through the ship, they found that the crew had left their gear, tobacco, and pipes, which made the search party report that they must have left quickly because no sailor leaves a ship without their pipe and tobacco. That was not, that was the thing that caught them off guard the most, was the fact that the tobacco and pipes were left on the ship.
Some sailors were paid in tobacco. Part of their rations every day was tobacco.
Right, they're not leaving that behind.
We learned that from the Franklin expedition.
Oh, right. We did. See how everything's all tied together.
Another advantage. Except it was 3 ships. Or 2 ships. It was 2.
And, they found the captain's quarters untouched. Sarah's sewing machine was there. And this part was kind of, I don't know, it just made me feel yucky inside. It said they found the soggy mattress with a ghostly indent of a sleeping child in it. So where the 2-year-old was asleep, must have had her body indentation was in that mattress. So it was kind of creepy. I don't know, that creeps me out.
I don't like that. No.
The ship's binnacle that housed the compass had broken glass cover, so it was compromised. The captain's chronometer and sextant, along with his navigation book and ship register, were gone, but the log book was found on the desk. The last entry in the ship's log was 18 days after they set sail, November 25th. It was reported they were 6 miles east of Santa Maria. But where that was 500 miles from where the ship was now. So they mark logs every day, right? The ship's logs. What was December 25th? So that's 5 days. What was it? December 5th? So what's that? November 25th. It's 10, 11 days. It had been sailing. So they had gone 500 miles from the last log. And they would have reported stuff every day.
Right.
There was no explanation. Everything, what they read in the ship's log, everything was normal. The whole experience so far, the 18 days, nothing weird, nothing was reported odd. And there's no explanation why the ship would have abandoned. They couldn't figure it out. Under the captain's bed, they found a sword with a faint discoloration in its sheath. Captain Morehouse, when the party his little search party he sent came back to his ship, told him what was going on. He realized it was the Celeste and became very worried about the people that were aboard it. It said that Captain Morehouse knew Captain Briggs, probably captains knew each other, and that he may have even ate dinner with Briggs and his wife the day before they set sail. So he knew of Celeste and he knew of Briggs, and he's like, this isn't right. Like, these are experienced men on this. I don't know what happened. So he split his crew up and sent the other ones back. They pumped the ship dry and they set sail to Gibraltar. And then, because, again, the maritime law was if you find a abandoned ship, it's yours. Mm-hmm. So they sailed it back to Gibraltar and wanted to collect the insurance money on it. Like, it's abandoned. It's been out here. The last thing was in November 5th. It's now December 5th. We looked everywhere. We can't find anyone. The Attorney General, who was investigating the abandoned ship, like, there were people on board. What is going on with this? He was convinced that Celeste's crew may have gotten into the alcohol, drank it, and then murdered Briggs and his family, then escaped from the boat on the little dinghy. But really, that doesn't make sense. For one, you couldn't drink the alcohol.
Right. It would kill you.
It would have killed you. Yeah, that's dumb. And
this is the part I know about.
Oh, you do know about this. And then they didn't take anything with them. Like, they would have taken their tobacco and stuff, and that they were known as peaceful sailors. They weren't rowdy. It was like these people were known. They had experience. They weren't ones to do that.
Right.
And then he thought when the sword that was found had blood on it, but it wasn't blood. It was rust.
Right.
So that didn't work. He was just trying to, it was like so mind-boggling. Where do the people go? Like, no one's on the ship. He wanted to know where they went. He even at one point suspected the crew of the De Gratia to have killed them for the money. But they kept investigating and they could find no foul play and no signs of where the people on the boat had gone. The captain and crew of the De Gratia received 1/6 of the payment of the insurance, which, if people looking back think that they really did maybe think they were a little guilty, so they wouldn't give them all of it, but they gave them 1/6 of what it was.
Yeah, because they're like, maybe these people found them and killed them all or threw them overboard.
Right.
So they could collect the ship insurance.
Exactly. But here's the question. Why would an experienced captain and crew abandon a perfectly fine ship for no reason?
Right, especially because the ship was still floating in
It's floating.
There's nothing wrong with it.
And there was only 3.5 feet of water in it. So they would know that that's not enough to hurt the ship. They know what they're doing. So in 1884, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
He wrote a short tale called J. Habakuk Jephson Statement. It was meant to be a fictional piece about a vengeful slave who kills everyone on the ship and sails back to Africa. And many people believed it was about the Celeste. It was a true story, even though he's like, nah, I made it up. It was, he was trying to get famous. It was before he wrote Sherlock. But when he created that story and people connected it to the Celeste, it really brought a lot of attention back to the Celeste and the mystery. Where did these people go? Right. So a lot of stuff came up. A lot of people had a lot of ideas. Some people thought pirates played a part. Came in, killed everyone. But pirates would not leave
the ship. That's the point of pirates.
They wouldn't have left the ship. They definitely wouldn't have left the valuables behind, or pipe tobacco, and they probably would have drank that alcohol.
They would have definitely thought that was alcohol you drink and drank it. And there would be a bunch of dead pirate bodies all over.
Yeah, you'd have dead pirate bodies. Because they would just drink it. They wouldn't have cared.
They would have drank a lot of it, and they would have gone blind and dead.
Right. Some people thought that the alcohol in the cargo swelled with the heat of the warm water around it and exploded, blasting open the ship's hatch and scaring them quickly to evacuate. Like, oh my god, we're exploding. We have to get off the ship. That seems let's explain why some things were left behind.
People were very superstitious back then. So
right. It's possible the flooding of the hull was overestimated by the captain, who feared it would sink, but he was experienced. Listen to that tree frog. Dude, I'm trying to do something here. He's yelling at me.
He's telling you, he's like, what?
This was an experienced crew and captain, so why would they abandon ship? It doesn't make sense. Some thought that Briggs, overcome by religious mania, butchered his family and crew and threw himself overboard.
Yeah, there's no...
That dude is like...
It's a bird.
There's one above us.
It's right there.
I don't know. Right above Margaret's head.
I don't like sitting here. Don't want to fall out of my head. Margaret shoot up out of her chair.
So there was a tree frog, and it was making its sounds behind Margaret, and she almost died. So we had to pause for a moment. So
I just don't want it landing on my head, okay?
So
on the ground.
This is working out well outside, isn't it? Some thought, like I said, Briggs was overcome with religious mania and killed everyone and threw himself, but there was no blood. There was no signs of anyone.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have, let me clean this all up first, and then I'll throw myself overboard.
Because he was a man from the 1800s.
Yeah,
he
didn't care.
Anything.
No.
Right? He's not.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
And where did the lifeboat go? Where are the people? They have never been, no one ever found them. So some theorized that a powerful water spout swept them all overboard. And that was it.
Okay.
Which, I don't think
there's a bunch of water in the hall that makes,
Yeah, but if the hall was open, and it was raining and the weather was kind of rocky, it would have gotten some water in there. There was, some historians speculate an earthquake happened and it rocked the ship, causing alcohol to leak from the barrels, causing Briggs to smell the alcohol and fear an explosion, so he got everyone off the ship. Could be. A journal in Edinburgh wrote that a giant sea creature dragged the passengers to the depths of the Atlantic.
Nessie followed them all the way there.
Yes.
And then was mad.
Yeah, it was I'm going to get you. And sometimes they say that an octopus did it.
Giant squid.
Yeah, giant squid.
20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, baby.
Yeah, that was...
Gigantic squid monster thing.
Another wrote a ravenous shark ate them all.
All of them?
All of them.
He was
real hungry.
Sharknado.
And he must have Sharknado right out of the water, grabbed them all off the deck, and went right back in the water again.
More than one.
Them and the ship off the deck.
Yes.
The New York Herald Tribune ran an article by Lawrence J. Keating, who was an Irish...
Gigantic Sharknado. It's just the most, acidine theory ever. How did they all get eaten by a shark when they're on the ship?
I don't know, but that's what happened, Margaret. So Lawrence J. Keating was an Irish writer, and he claimed that the De Gratia crew killed everyone on the Celeste, but there was no proof that ever happened. There was no blood. There was no anything to show that happened.
And they didn't take anything.
And they didn't take it. They turned it all in to get the money. So they'd be stupid. If they're going to do anything, just take the ship and go. A man named R. Lucy claimed that the Mary Celeste crew abandoned ship when they found a vessel full of silver and gold going past. And they took that vessel and they sailed it to Spain to live comfortably. Just happened to be... Here comes the cat. Now the cat's out here making noises.
Your mom's cat's here.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been far away. It took her a while to heave herself over here.
She's climbing up the thing.
She heaved herself.
She did.
She's a plump one.
Look at that one board. I wonder if that's from the cat trying to get up. It's all bent backwards. That's funny. So in 2007, a documentarian, I think it's what you call people that make documentaries.
Yes.
Her name was Anne McGregor.
What year was this?
It's 2007.
Oh.
She used a newly discovered documentation, interviews with nautical experts, and the deceased members, or the descendants of the deceased members, Captain Briggs and crew. They didn't have a definite conclusion of what happened, but they came up with a plausible scenario.
Okay.
They said the broken chronometer, rough seas, clogged pump, because all these things were broke. Remember, the compass thing was broke. The pump was dismantled. Could have led Briggs ordering everyone to abandon ship when they caught sight of land on November 25th, because he felt that the ship didn't know where they were because they didn't have the chronometer or the compass working correctly. Chronometer, right? Yeah, chronometer. And then that clogged pump, and they weren't able to do what he thought they should be doing, and he didn't know if they get to where they go, so he thought the best thing to do was just get out of here. So that's what they thought. Talking to all those people. So there's two authors. One's name's George Byron and one is Charles Eddie Fay. They both wrote books about the Celeste, and they agree with the theory of Dr. Oliver Cobb, who was a young cousin of Captain Briggs. His theory is kind of what I believe most. Well, let me tell you and see what you think. His theory was that Captain Briggs smelled the alcohol steeping from the red oak barrels because it was warmed by the surrounding water in the hold.
Mm-hmm.
going to happen.